Hello, this is Donna Torno, your host, and today I have Bob Terry, veteran from Canal Zone. Bob, I'd like to record your statement on what you saw in the Canal Zone. Would that be all right if I record your conversation?
Yes, it would.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Bob, for that permission. And Bob Terry was stationed at Fort Clayton, 1968 to 1969. He worked at the Corzo Motor Pool, and he actually hauled Agent Orange. And so, Bob, I'd like you to tell what you saw in 1968 and 69 and what you did. Welcome.
Thank you. We were dispatched out of the motor pool there over to the warehouse, and we picked up some black barrels with some stripes around them, orange stripes, and they didn't really tell us what they were. We took them over to Fort Sherman. We took them there to Fort Clayton. We took them to Riahata Beach. We'd take them over to Fort Sherman, and we'd go over there, and they didn't have any way to take them off, so we just rolled them off on the ground, and some busted and got all over the place. But
So these
we'd
bar
take them out.
so Bob, these barrels that you would haul, were they when you got them to their destination, were they sealed or were they already opened?
Well, they were sealed until we dropped them on the ground, and some of them busted open,
Oh my
but the
goodness.
majority of them were sealed.
Okay. And then what would happen with them once you delivered them? Do you know?
Well, they would take and they had a hand pump there, and they would pump it into the tank, spray tank. They had another truck there that had a tank and a couple hand sprayers that they would use to go out and spray along the jungle roads.
How long would it take them to pump that stuff out? And would they pump the whole 55-gallon drum at one time?
Usually they did. They'd try to at least get 55 gallons at a time. Then we'd throw the empty tanks. Sometimes we'd throw the empty tanks on the truck.
You throw the empty tanks on the truck and take them back to the Pacific side?
Well, usually we just throw them off along the way out in the jungle.
Okay, that's interesting because in the the technical manual it said to bury them somewhere away from water, which they in the jungle nobody goes in there, so that makes sense. Alvin Young said they had to ship them back to the United States, but I found a document that said they didn't do that because it was too expensive. So I imagine they didn't care what happened to them.
Well, I heard that they make burn barrels out of them and different things.
Well, we saw that exactly. They used them to make barbecues out of or other purposes.
Yeah, they sometimes we'd take them back to the warehouse, but we'd do as all the Army guys did at that time. We did the least we had to, but sometimes we took some back, sometimes we didn't.
Right. So, how often would you take barrels and how many would there be at a time when you took them over to Sherman or Rio Hato or wherever you took them to?
Usually we'd take 10, 12 barrels at a time. Sometimes we'd make 2 trips a day. They use the excuse, I never saw it happen, this is just hearsay, that they would spray it with the helicopters, but they said they were spraying for mosquitoes.
Huh. Well, we do know, from my book, I found a report that they did spray from aircraft for, I guess they said for mosquitoes, and they said they sprayed malathion, but we really don't know exactly what they were spraying.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know. The only thing that I know is, how they, I got some of the stuff on me, and I complained to the guy that was in charge of us, which was specialist fifth class hog. I told him I got it all on my feet, and he said, "Oh, don't worry, you can take a bath in it." And but we got the spray from the guys that were spraying, kind of all over you on your skin and everywhere else. And they
Sure.
used to, I don't know how you want to, they're playing around. They'd spray each other with it, just for jokes.
Horsing around like guys do,
Yeah,
like people
yeah,
do.
oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, when we'd go out there, we'd try to make a day out of it. That way we didn't have anything else to do. We'd sit around, go to sleep, whatever we had to do. We wanted to make a day out of it.
Well, it's an hour over, an hour back anyway, so there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then,
sometimes you'd have to wait out there till they told you where to take it.
sure, yeah. And so, did you see any jungle turning brown or any spraying going on while you made all those trips?
Yeah, I saw a lot of spraying, but I really couldn't tell you where it's at. But they have spots out there that they're completely dead. They were at the time that I was there, and it was about like, I don't know, barren, like a desert type. Not all of it, but a big side about the size, half the size of the football field.
I've seen pictures of that. That's all denuded, and it's really odd because we lived in the jungle area and to not be green at all with all that rain. It's real strange.
Well, I think they use that spot, and I'm not sure, but I think they used that when they brought the helicopters in.
Okay. So, where would you pick up these barrels from, Bob?
We'd pick them up at Fort Clayton at the warehouse there.
Okay, and that's pretty close to where the ships came in and delivered them, I suppose.
Yeah, it's probably, I, I don't really remember exactly how far, maybe at the most a quarter of a mile from the canal.
Okay. And you told me you were stationed the same place that Jones, there was a man named uh,
Donald Jones.
Donald Jones. That's right. That was the first case that won for Panama, and his wife fought like crazy for years.
Yeah.
And we do have the testimony from Charles Bartlett, which is a Dietrich employee, that says that 200 barrels were shipped to Panama of Agent Orange in 1968 for testing. And you were there in 68. So you may have been transporting some of those barrels.
You know, I never counted them, but just visually in my mind now, I would say the part that I saw, there was at least 100 barrels there, and they could have been some more in other warehouses too. But that particular place, there was probably 100 barrels.
Sure. And would there be guys there helping you load those into the truck, or did you have to load them as well?
No, they'd bring them out to the truck, and they had it on pallets, and
Uh-huh.
they'd bring it out there, and then we'd usually just roll them into onto our truck. Me and another guy, he's passed away already.
And how did this affect you being stationed down there? You were down there about a year, you said?
Yeah, about 9 months.
Okay. And you actually got it on you, and you also were right handling it. So,
Right.
how did it affect your health, Bob?
Well, I've had so many different kinds of cancers, skin cancers, kidney cancers. Uh, Now I've got polyps in my colon that's cancerous. I've got lung cancer. I've got windpipe cancer. I have stomach issues. I've got diabetes. I've got neuropathy. The neuropathy started when I got it on my feet, and then it affected my legs. And but other than that, there's some days that I just can't hardly get around.
I totally get that, and I know many of our listeners totally understand that as well. And so, do you have a claim in right now, Bob?
I do. I sure do. I filed it. Well, I filed it in 1990. They turned it down, said there was no evidence, said I didn't complain, and then I filed a claim in 2018, which was denied, and I filed another one the 10th, 7th of 20, and I got a letter back that they denied the diabetes.
You are right now denied for the diabetes for Panama for exposure. Is that right?
Yeah, they said there was no evidence of Agent Orange there.
Right. That has been our whole issue, and that has been my whole reason for fighting so hard because 24D and 245T is the same exact item as Agent Orange. And in my book, I wrote to Hatfield Consultants. They were the ones who found it in Vietnam. And Dr. Wayne Dwornchuk was nice enough to write me back. And according to his letter, in support of my research. It doesn't really matter. 2,4,5-T had an unknown amount of dioxin, and so wherever it was used for vegetation control, we were exposed to the same item, dioxin, found in Agent Orange. So we're fighting to correct that, and I, I don't know how it's going to come out, but I do want everyone listening that may know someone in the Panama Canal Zones, veteran that suffered from that, to support the military veterans advocacy and help us get that corrected. Well, Bob, when you were down there, were you married? Did you have a family there?
No, my family wasn't there. I was married, but my family stayed in California.
Well, that was thankful.
Yeah, I'm really glad glad the way it turned out. Some guys did have their families down there, but I did.
Right. I was there with my husband for 3 years, and I was there when they came down, when Dietrich came down to do the testing in Panama, because you see, they knew that they used this chemical there. It's on the U.S. commerce exports from 58 to 77. They knew darn well they did. So they came down to test for it at Fort Davis and also on the Pacific side, I think at Corzo actually. And the report is on my YouTube channel and also in the requests to get Panama recognized as a place where it was. So we'll see what happens. But I might have said good morning to them as they were testing it at Fort Davis, because Fort Davis was a very small place.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know that we took some to Fort Clayton, and we'd fill up the sprayer right there, and they went around all over the place, and we just mainly followed them around. And when they run out, we'd fill it back up again. But they were spraying. I don't really know the NCO club. They sprayed around that 123 club, all through there.
How about the golf course? Because I have read where they used it on the greens at the golf course. Do you have any knowledge of
They
that?
Well, no, I don't. I don't remember that. But we
How
went
about
all over Fort Clayton.
how about the backpack sprayers? Were they filled up by you guys, or were they filled up by
Yeah,
someone else?
usually we'd fill the tank up, and where they were spraying, and the backpackers they'd come up there and fill them up.
Oh, interesting.
But,
So they filled up with that stuff that had the orange stripe on it,
Right. Yes, it did.
and they sprayed all around the buildings. I mean, the backpack sprayers, I worked in communications at Fort Davis. They would spray all around the building, and they'd spray all around our quarters at Fort Davis by backpack because we were kind of tucked away. We had two buildings where we lived, not a whole neighborhood. So, the big trucks would go by the whole neighborhood. I mean, they'd come by our house too, but around the back, because we had the big ball field right behind us, they'd be backpack sprayers on the edge there spraying with the backpack stuff. And I asked one day,
Well,
what are you using? It stinks. And they said, don't worry, lady, it only kills bugs, not humans.
yeah. uh, Human bugs, huh?
And
Yeah.
look how
No,
Vietnam turned out. So,
yeah, yeah. Well, they went around. I was in the Garrison Company, and they went around that completely around it. And we drove around it, spraying all the company areas, and back up. We were backed up to the jungle,
right,
and they'd try to knock back 4 to 5 foot,
right.
uh, from that. But we'd drive through there and they'd spray, and there's no telling what contaminations down there if they even checked around that.
Right. I remember, I lived at Fort Davis. I had to go to Fort Gulick all the time for many reasons. And the commissary was there, the medical area, et cetera. And I'd get behind those spray trucks that would be spraying off the edge of the road
Right.
between the forts, and they'd be going about 5 miles an hour, and you couldn't pass them. You'd be engulfed in the spray.
Well, from Fort Clayton on to Fort Sherman, they would go along the roadways there on both sides. Well, they'd go one side and then come back the other side.
Right.
They'd go about 4 or 5 miles, turn around and come back. And
Exactly. And they'd have those big booms off the side of the one side of the truck that would be
right,
spraying those ditches.
yeah, yeah. They had guys, and then sometimes they would find a little roadway up there, and they'd kind of pull the boom back, and then they'd hand spray it. They got a kind of a rubber hose, and they'd go in there spraying.
Right. That's what I remember seeing too. I mean, too bad that we didn't have cell phones in those days that we could take pictures of everything.
Well, the how would I say it? The government. When I got out, I'm saying when I got out at Fort Lewis, they were 1,700 of us got out basically the same day. They were three doctors there, and they just run us through. And they asked if anything was wrong with you, and I said, "Yeah, I can't hardly hear, and my ears are ringing." And they said, "Growing pains, go on." And they didn't really do anything. They all they want to do is get you in, get you out.
Yeah, it's the problem is that the medical community really doesn't know that this stuff was used everywhere. And in Panama, it was used before it was used in Vietnam. And yet, when we go to the VA and we tell them that we're sick and we need help, um, they just say there's no evidence. And yet, I have given them this evidence. I gave them these shipping records in 2015, December of 2015, with my husband's case. And they didn't act on it. They deny, deny, deny. And then I did an IG investigation, which I posted on my YouTube channel, Travels of Orange. And, I gave them all that information to the Senator Tester's office and the Veterans Committee and the President of the United States, and nothing happened except that, well, a little bit happened. So we're on our way to try to prove this, and we've asked the VA Secretary. The Military Veterans Advocacy has requested the VA Secretary to add Panama to the list to make it easier for you and my husband and all the other veterans who are suffering. But the good
Well,
news, go ahead, Bob.
1990 when I filled out for a disability rating, The lady, in fact, her exact words when she got up, she says, "Well, you damn baby killers want something for nothing," and she just walked off. And from that point on, I never pursued anything. I just, if that's the attitude they have, then how do you win?
And that is, we are up against people who seem to not want to help us, and that is really sad, because there's thousands of veterans that are suffering from Panama, Thailand, Guam, Okinawa, and other places, and we're trying to help all of them. The good news is Panama did win two cases this year for prostate cancer for Agent Orange exposure in Panama.
Well, that's great news. But I've got a friend of mine that, well, he was with me when we were rolling the barrels out. It's Jimmy Jones, Combs rather, from Fort Sumter, New Mexico. He died in 1995 from high blood pressure. So it's unreal.
Yeah, many have died. I started this process in 2015 and met another attorney and was working to build an organization called Panama Canal Zone Veterans Association. And I gathered up, like 500 names of individuals who have been sick. Some of them I've spoken to personally and have died since, waiting for a response from the VA. And, in the very beginning, when I filed my husband's case, I thought I had a slam dunk. Here's the evidence. And I went to the mailbox every single day, or then it became every week, and then every month, and then every year. I don't know why it
Well, they
takes them so
told me
long.
and my wife the cancer that I have in my lung and my windpipe. They first told me and my wife that to go ahead and make out a will. I said, "What are you talking about?" They said, "Well, at the maximum you got is 5 years, and you're going to die. This cancer, it's they didn't even know what it was. The doctor Miles told me that they had to look it up in a book. It's such a rare cancer, they didn't even know what it was. So they got another lady in there, and she told me and my wife that 5 years I'd be dead, and to make out my will. So, and they said there was nothing they could do. Well, I went to my own doctor, and he sent me to an outside clinic, and they said, "Yeah, we can give you a drug called Sanustatin. It doesn't kill it, but it stops it from growing." So I went back and talked to a lady, and she told me a phone number to call, and they would straighten that out, and they would make sure that I got it, which they did, and they've been giving it to me. And I said, "Well, why didn't they give me that to start with?" And they said, "Well, it's so expensive. That's why it costs $3,000 a shot. They don't want to pay it. But anyway, they're paying it now.
Good. And they should. Oh my goodness. And
So
how
the
long
last
ago?
time they run a test, I'm sorry,
How long ago was that they told you you had 5 years?
2 years ago.
Okay, but you're doing good because of this drug?
Yeah, in fact, the doctor that he run an MRI, and he said that they've shrunk up a little bit. The one in my windpipe and my lung. I
Oh,
can't hardly walk around now, but I don't get any breath. And first thing they said, it was COPD, and I said, "Hell, I don't smoke." And they said, "Well, it's secondary smoke." They've always got
sure,
an app, you know, but
sure, sure. I get it. Yeah, they say I have COPD and I don't smoke either. So I was there also. I don't know, it's a very contaminated place. But as a civilian, I don't know how the civilians are going to come out, and that's a whole nother battle after I'm dead and gone. It took Vietnam veterans 20 years. I hope it doesn't take us that long. The VA now is it's got to take action about Panama and tell us if this is not Agent Orange and Agent Purple, as I think and I stand behind my evidence 100% is. then what the heck is it and how could it affect us?
Yeah. Well, they should have been able to test the ground. That doesn't leave the ground. You know, it'll take decades to get out of there.
Right, but no
I'm,
one knew. So no one knew to do that. Maybe our government did test it and isn't telling us. I don't know. But now we don't own that area, or we don't, it'd be difficult to get in there. But some say that. Well, we don't know. We just don't know, and we're not able to test it. But I don't think we need testing. We have shipping records that show it's
yeah,
shipped, stored, and used on their official U.S. Census Bureau by the U.S. Department of Commerce. It couldn't be more clear. And we also have the testimony of Charles Bartlett from the Dietrich employee who says it was shipped there. I don't see how it could be any more clear than that. And we have thousands of people that are sick.
well, they just deny. You know that's a favorite. You know, word. I don't know who tells them to do that, but it's always deny, deny. You know, they
Well, I believe
couldn't
it's
have.
Alvin. I believe it's Alvin Young. He wrote the report in 2012 on Panama, which is on my personal website, donnatorno.com. And he also wrote the report in 2006, and he was paid by the DOD in 2006 to write that report, and he was paid in 2012 to write the VA report. So he points to the 2006 report as fact when he's the same author. So there's a problem with that. So that's going to be on my YouTube channel. So follow, the story as it comes out, everyone, and you'll understand why they've been denying us all these years.
Yeah. Well, I don't know really, truthfully. How would I say it? If I ever get to go up before a board to discuss this, I don't know what kind of evidence I could give them, but my word, you know, and they're not going to take that, you know.
Well, what evidence they do like is if you have someone who is stationed with you that's still alive that can write a buddy statement, or if you have someone who was stationed at the same place as you after you that also saw the same kind of evidence. We also won another case. I say we, not me, but an attorney won another case for a fellow that was stationed in Panama, and I think he was at Fort Clayton, and I might be able to connect you guys. And he
Yeah,
won for the same area. And so as they like buddy statements that can collaborate what they saw, and then also download the years that you were there from my website and get those shipment records and send those in with your appeal once you get denied that, well, here's the evidence that it was there. And according to those
right.
records, it says ship, stored, and used, because from month to month you can see how much is still on hand. So obviously it was being used.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing of it is the guy that I was working with, I was a specialist fourth class, and he was a PFC. He was a dear friend, but he died in 1995, and
Okay.
he's buried at Fort Sumter, New Mexico. But his brother told me he died of high blood pressure, you know, which affects your heart. So I don't know,
Right.
but
Well, we have many die of heart disease and many who have heart disease today. But anyone out there that worked at Fort Clayton that can write a buddy statement that saw spraying going on or saw, jungle being turned brown that can write a buddy statement for Bob, that would be great. Just contact me and, by messenger or whatever, and we'll put you two together because they do like buddy statements. So that's something that can go forward with your appeal.
well, I hope that somebody will, you know, contact you and maybe I can get some more evidence. And when I go before that appeal board and, you know, and help me out and help them also, I hope anyway, you know.
I hope so too,
It's,
Bob.
there's a lot of families that they have wives and kids, and hopefully they can get compensated from the death of their loved ones. You know.
Right. Well, there are a lot of rules and regulations that the veteran has to, it's an uphill battle because as you look at the diseases on the list, some of them you have to have had some kind of complication while you're in service or within a certain amount of time. But diabetes is one that can happen anytime afterwards. So, but you have to be pretty sick. And are you on insulin, Bob?
I am. Matter of fact, I am. In fact, I was taking medication until they took my kidney out. And then they said they couldn't give me that medication because it would destroy my other kidney, so they put me on insulin.
Okay. Okay. Um, and so being on insulin and depending on how much you shoot up a day, gives you more of a higher rating for diabetes. If, you had well-controlled diabetes where you were only on a pill or something, then that gives you hardly anything. So there's a lot to the ratings and a lot you have to have a disease, just being there and being exposed. Some people think that that's, going to amount to some kind of rating for them, but you have to be sick and you have to be able to prove that. So if you do go to, for everyone out there, if you do go to the doctor for any reason, make sure you get a copy of that day's doctoring because you're going to need all that information and it's sad to have to go back and pay for it, um, when you do need it. But no one knew. I mean, they didn't
Yeah,
certainly
that's for
did. They said certainly didn't tell us.
well. The only thing they told me when I was spraying down there, like I said, that I could take a bath and it wouldn't hurt me. You know, so
Which is, exactly right because, it wasn't labeled poisonous.
yeah,
In fact, I have the labeling information and all of that, and it was not labeled poisonous. So the end user would never know that there was anything harmful about it. And, we saw spraying going on here in the United States in agriculture areas. We never worried about what they were spraying. Um, wow. So how you doing now that you have all these issues and cancers and but you're still going, right?
well, with my wife does a lot of the work that I used to do. Like I say, I can't hardly get around very well. Um, I have issues walking. I've got to take insulin 4 times a day. So, it's just a day by day deal. But then I'm 76 years old. I'm not supposed to be a spring chicken anymore, I guess.
That's true. Our golden years sure aren't golden, are they?
They were sure fool's gold, that's for sure.
Fool's gold. That's a good point. Well, Bob, thank you very much for telling your
All
story.
right.
Was there anything else you'd
Okay,
like
well,
to
I
tell
hope.
everyone?
No, just good luck. Keep persisting and, do the best you can. And hopefully somebody will give me a call or call you, and that way I can hook up with them anyway. But thank you, huh?
All right, Bob, well, stay on the line, okay? And we're going to end this session for everyone. And we do have evidence. Bob, collaborates what Jones's wife told everyone that it was there, and what Dietrich says was sent there, and the Commerce record says it was sent there. And now we have Bob Terry that actually hauled it when it came into Clayton, and that's what we were told that it came into Clayton. So thanks a lot, Bob, for sharing.
All right, thank you.